We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Women's Cross Country Through the Decades. Tonight we have the decade of the 1990s. We've got some great guests joining head coach Kevin Donner and one of our current student athletes, Nora Bennett. Nora is a junior from Garden City, New York, and we thank Nora for taking part in tonight's call. My name is Todd Newcomb, and I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor for tonight's event. Geisinger has done a great job throughout the pandemic, and as always, they do a great job day in and day out with our student athletes here at Bucknell. So before we get to Coach and to Nora, let me introduce our guest that we have on the call. And I'm going to use everybody's maiden name so that the folks that followed along in this decade will recognize these folks right away. So our first guest from the class of 1993 is Kristen Opdyke. She's a three-year letter winner in cross country. She was an All-Patriot League selection in both 1991 and 1992. She was a two-time All-East selection with her best finish of first coming in 1991. In outdoor track, she was the Patriot League champion in the 10K in 1992. And in indoor track, she was a Patriot League champion twice. She won the Bison Club Award at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner. Our next guest from the class of 1995 is Jessica Wilhelm. She was a four-year letter winner and an All-Patriot League selection in 1994. She was also a two-time All-East selection, including the individual title in 1994. Our next guest from the class of 1999 is Julie Schweitzer. She was a four-year letter winner, a three-time All-Patriot League selection. She was the Patriot League individual champion in cross country in both 1997 and 1998. She was a two-time All-East selection with her best finish of seventh coming in 1996. She was an NCAA qualifier in 1997, where she placed 84th in outdoor track. She was a three-time Patriot League individual champion, an All-Patriot League selection in 1998 and 1999, and All-East in the 3000 in 1999. In indoor track, Julie was a seven-time Patriot League individual champion. She was a four-time All-Patriot League selection, a three-time All-East selection, with her best showing being second as a member of the 4x800 relay in 1997. Julie was an academic all-district honoree in 1999 and 2000, and a national academic all-American third-team choice in 1999. She was a six-time Patriot League Scholar Athlete honoree, including three times in cross-country, twice in indoor track, and once in outdoor track. Julie won the Margaret L. Bryan Award and the Christy Mathewson Award at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner, and she was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2011. Our next guest from the class of 2000 is Carly Graytock. She was a four-year letter winner, a three-time All-Patriot League selection in cross country. She was an NCAA qualifier with the 1999 team, where she placed 181st in that meet. In outdoor track, she was a three-time Patriot League individual champion in the 10K, a three-time All-Patriot League selection, and All-East in the 10K in the year 2000. In indoor track, she was an All-Patriot League selection in 2000. She was also the Patriot League Scholar Athlete for outdoor track in 2000, and she won the Margaret L. Bryan Award at the Department's Senior Awards Dinner. And our final guest from the class of 2000 as well is Annie Hamlin. She was a four-year letter winner. She was All-Patriot League in both 1996 and 1997. She was a two-time All-East selection with her best finish of 10th coming in 1996. In outdoor track, she was the Patriot League individual champion in the 3000 and 5000 in 1999. And she was an All-Patriot League selection in both 1998 and 1999. In indoor track, Annie was a four-time Patriot League individual champion, a four-time All-Patriot League selection, and All-East in 1997 as a member of the 4x800 relay. So, Coach, we've got a great group. I'm going to turn it to you.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Well, first of all, ladies, thanks for coming on this Zoom call. You're like royalty to our program, and I know Nora's going to love this. I'm going to love it, and I know a lot of people are going to watch this Zoom over the next couple of weeks. It should be a lot of fun. First question is we're going to have each and every one of you answer it. And before we begin sharing your great memories of your life here at Bucknell, can you update us on your personal life, your career, your family, etc.? And we'll start from left to right. So we'll start with Julie there.
Well, thank you, Coach. I'm currently living in Red Lion, Pennsylvania. It's in York County, South Central PA. Married to Dave Granger, alumni 97, also track and cross country runner. And we have 3 kids, 15, 13, and 11 and a half, as my youngest will make sure that I say, not 11. I worked for Air Products for 18 or 19 years as a project engineer. And then at that point, I took some time off just to focus on our family for a little while. I, since then, have been substitute teaching some, volunteer coaching for track and cross country for a local high school. And now I get the great job of helping to teach my own kids because they're all in cyber for the year. So, that's pretty much what we've been up to.
All right. Well, thank you. And Chris, tell us what you've been up to.
Thanks, Coach. I live outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been married for 15 years to Ron Levan, who, as Coach Donner takes credit for the fact that we met when we were working at the camp 17 years ago, 18 years ago, I can't remember. We don't have any children, but we have 2 cats, Cinder and Bosco. They're 15.
Okay. Wow.
And I have just started my 28th year of teaching. About 10 of them were in. And then when I met Ron, I moved out here. And so I'm in my 18th year at Pine Richland High School, which is outside of Pittsburgh. I teach biology and anatomy. And we are in a hybrid situation. So yes, I am teaching. I am in the classroom every day. And it is a challenge, to say the least. And I thank all the parents out there that are helping as well. So that's where I am at this point in time, Coach.
All right. Well, thanks. Let's go on to Carly Shea.
Thanks, Coach. I live right near campus. I'm now in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. We moved here. My husband, Terry Shea, is also an alum 96. We moved here 7 years ago after living in Boston for about 10 years. So we live, for those of you familiar with the Wrens, we're not too far off of EPR, the best part of EPR when you're up high. We have 2 kids, 8 and 6. Right after graduating Bucknell, I worked in the biotech industry doing analytical chemistry research for about 8 years, and then decided to go to massage therapy school up in Boston. And so I've been a licensed massage therapist since 2009. While we were in Boston, I had my own practice, and I did some work with the Harvard track and cross country team. And then upon moving here to Lewisburg, sort of talked with Coach Downer about doing some contract work with the cross country and track team here at Bucknell. And I also have my own practice here in Lewisburg as well. So.
All right. That's been wonderful for our team. It's helped us win a couple championships. I've always felt massage therapy is worth about 15 points at a track meet. So especially those 2-day meets. And we had a couple of those meets we won by less than 15 points. So we owe it to Carly there. All right. Jessica, tell us what you've been doing since graduation.
Hello. I am currently living in Westfield, New Jersey. I am also married to a Bucknellian, but he was not a runner. He doesn't run at all. So we've been married about 21 years. We have 3 girls, 3 teenage girls, so 14, 17, 19. And when we graduated college, I started working for Accenture, doing some consulting work for them and then some training. I took 14 years off to stay home with my girls, and I've been back working for them for about 5 years doing recruiting. So I'm recruiting for them, and I give Bucknell a lot of credit for having in my job. And I'm with them.
Great. And I see you found your way on there, Annie. Why don't you tell us what you've been up to?
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I actually just started back at school today, and we are teaching in a hybrid model as well. And I'm back in my hometown. My husband, Casey, and I live in Richmond, Virginia, in a little town outside of Richmond. And we have 2 kids. I have a son, Chase, who is 14, and our daughter Lexi is in 4th grade.
All right, great, great. We're going to keep you on here, Annie, and tell us about your recruiting experience at Bucknell and how you ultimately ended up here at Bucknell.
Well, I would say my recruiting experience was not too detailed or complicated. My senior year, my guidance counselor recommended Bucknell just as just a small university that seemed like it would be a good fit for me. I never dreamed that the opportunity would open up, that I would be able to run as well. But, that was something I would really want to do. I reached out to Coach Goulden and he invited me up for a visit, and it was a great fit. I spent the weekend. I still remember that weekend driving up on Route 15 with my dad, and I loved Bucknell instantly. So, Coach Goulden had a way of drawing you in, and so not too complicated of a road here.
All right. Well, thanks. And Julie, tell us about your recruiting experience and how you ended up here.
I work with athletes now, and the recruiting experience, but when we went to college is quite different than what it is today.
Yeah.
So my experience is not that different from Annie's. I was looking at possibilities, just some state schools in the area. I didn't even really think about Bucknell until my track coach recommended it. And then I think, I don't remember the exact timing of it all, but at districts my junior year, I had a great race, I won. And after that, I heard from Coach Goulden, and he was apparently at the race. I don't remember exactly what he said, but something on the lines of seeing this short little thing that had some leg speed that maybe had some potential. So kind of typical Goulden, it was flattering yet offensive all at the same time. But at that point, once I saw the campus, I was sold. I loved it and never looked back.
All right. All right. Carly, how'd you end up here?
Julie's husband actually has a large part in how I ended up at Bucknell, because her husband, Dave, actually went to the same high school that I did. And he was a senior my freshman year, and he ended up at Bucknell, and he would come back, for a Christmas break, and I'd see him at some of the high school basketball games. And he was giving me, like, from my sophomore year, a hard sell on Bucknell. And it didn't really register with me too much until senior year. I think when Coach Goulden started I maybe send a letter, call, show up at some meets. So I then started giving it some more thought. And when I went to visit, Julie was actually my host on my recruiting trip. And I feel like I think it was my first official visit. But I was enamored with the campus and with the team and everything about it. And, whether or not it was just because of my first visit, I don't know, but I loved Bucknell instantly. And my parents are actually on the trip too. And they, I think, try to get me to pump the brakes a bit. Like, let's see, you're the other schools you look at. But Bucknell set a very high bar. And after that, it was like everything paled in comparison. So I sort of knew, I think from that trip in February, that's where I wanted to be. And I was fortunate when things kind of played out, with, being accepted and financial aid and all that, and to be able to come here. So yeah, the Grangers were somewhat directly involved with me ending up at Bucknell.
Yeah. Kristen, how'd you end up at Bucknell?
So Bucknell was the second letter that I got in the mail from any school. And so I went for a visit, did an official visit overnight. It was an awesome visit. I kind of got brought around by track and field people, cross country people, spent a little time with Coach Goulden. I fell in love with the campus immediately. And honestly, it was an easy decision for me. I went early decision at that point and didn't have to think about anything else the rest of the time. It just was simple for me. It was just a nice fit. The campus was the size I wanted. It was Division I, but it wasn't gigantic Division I. And the the rest of it was history from there. It was an easy decision.
All right. And Jessica?
Hello. So I would say I have a similar story to Annie and Julie, being recruited at a bunch of schools, some in the Patriot League, and something called me to Bucknell and I came to visit. And I will say, you know, I really chose Bucknell for the school. And I'm a big proponent of that. You better like the school you go to, no matter what sport you're playing, because if you're injured and you don't get to play for the rest of your 3 or 4 years, you better still be happy. And so my number one was I loved the school and I knew I was going to run somewhere. So I'd run for anybody, anywhere, because I really run for myself, you know.
Right.
So it was a bonus to, you know, be on the team and everything. But I just, you know, as everybody else said, Bucknell just kind of pulls you in and
Sure.
buying it once you're on campus.
All right. Kristen, I'm interested on who your first letter was from.
Notre Dame. And it was
Really?
it was the beginning of their cross country program. I feel I am the oldest person. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm the oldest person here. And Notre Dame was just starting a cross country program. And yeah, that was my first letter.
You know, their first year of existence, they were in the same league as my University of Detroit team. I competed against the very first team at Notre Dame.
Okay.
I might have been able to coach against you had you chosen them, but we're glad you chose Bucknell.
Me too.
All right. And while you're here, Nora, why don't you tell us how you ended up at Bucknell?
Sure. So, well, there was an alumni from my high school, Kylie Pierce, who had gone there, and she had nothing but good things always to say. So my coach in high school was a big fan of Bucknell. So that's kind of how I heard, I guess, about it. And then, yeah, I emailed Coach Donner. My high school track times were not exactly stellar, but he took a chance on me. And yeah, that's kind of, I think, a little bit how I found my way here. I came on my official, and I just remember I got to hang out with a bunch of the sophomore girls because it was the weekend of our indoor meet in December. And just seeing how the team was so close definitely, I don't know, sealed the deal for me.
Funny story about Nora. She was a pretty good middle distance runner in high school, and I recruited her because of her 800-meter time. And take this constructively, Nora, but I wasn't very impressed with your cross country times. And I was wondering if you'd be in over your head. So I asked Nora over the summer if she would rather be with our 400, 800 kids rather than our cross country kids. And she decided, well, you know, I like cross country. I think I'll go out, run cross country. And I was like, okay, you're in, you know, we'll see. And her freshman year, she ended up 10th in the league. And then last year she was Law League as well. So she ended up really making a great transition to cross country. So good job, Nora. We're really glad you chose us. While you're there, Nora, why don't you throw some questions at these young ladies?
Sure. So I would love to know any advice that you guys would have for me or any other runners in our program today, just kind of regarding the college cross country experience at Bucknell. And we could start with Carly.
You hear from me all the time. You know, I see Nora on a regular basis, so she's probably sick of all my like old alumni stories. I think like the best thing about my time at Bucknell that I could say like would be for, you know, regarding advice, just make the most of the team atmosphere. And I've seen that already with the girls in your class. I think it's great. I mean, especially right now in COVID times where you guys are limited with social interactions on campus, you at least have your teammates and you can run together, even if it's in smaller numbers, but you have that. And that's something that not everybody at the university might have right now. But I just feel like just, you know, get the most out of those relationships with the people on your team, men and women, because I feel like the team, the men's team, the women's team, track, cross country, like that was my bedrock when I was at Bucknell. Like, I mean, I didn't need to belong to a sorority or, any other extracurricular, because I had that family unit with the team. I mean, even now, 20 something years removed from graduating, it's still a really great group of people. I mean, I'm not as close maybe with everyone, but I still keep in touch. And then, Julie and Annie, I actually see at least once a year, because of an alumni get together that the Grangers host. And so those are relationships that go a long way. And I think like that more than anything with the Bucknell experience and running on the team, I think like really like just hanging on to those relationships while you're here, and then like continuing on with that once you leave Bucknell.
Yeah, definitely. Julie, what thoughts do you have?
I 100% agree with everything Carly said. I would also say, just on a day-to-day basis, don't set limits on yourself, because you never know what you can do. And trust your coaches, trust the process. They know what they're doing, and put everything you have into practice every day, so that when you leave, you can be proud of what you've done that day. And then when you step to the line at a race, you don't have any doubt in your head. You've done it all. You've done what you could. Your coaches have done what they could, and go out there and do it for your team. And a lot of people think cross country is such an individual sport, but it never was for me. It's always so much more of a team sport. And you need to run harder in case someone else is having a bad day. So just really give it everything you have every day, and always just believe and set your limits higher than what you ever would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. Kristen, what about you?
My advice would just be, I tell some of the kids that run at my high school that are looking to go to college, is I tell them that in order to succeed, academics and athletics are kind of on the same, they're the same. And then social falls after that. But like Julie was saying, I mean, the team is your social, your social life. And that's, pre-COVID and COVID now. But I think some freshmen, and I know you're not a freshman, but some freshmen get into, the trap of, they got to go out and they got to party. And then all of a sudden it's, I got to stay up all night because I got to get my work done. And then the running goes down the tubes. And I found that athletics and academics have to be together. They have to be paired together. And if that happens, you're gonna see success in both. And if the team is your family, that's your social life.
Definitely. Jessica?
Well, it's hard to follow. They stole a lot of my thoughts. In addition to all of that, I would just say somewhere along the way, just make sure you have some fun. These are 4 years, you never get back. So you're 100% dedicated, but you have to enjoy it as well. And just stay balanced. And that goes to what Kristen said. I mean, there's a balance, some days it's going to be academics, some days it's running, but you got to find that balance that works for you to make you successful. And I think those are just two important pieces to add to what else they've said about all the relationships.
Annie?
Oh, she's on mute.
You?
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Nora. I was my audio was off. Do you mind repeating the question? I'm so sorry.
No problem. My question was just if you guys had any advice for myself or another athlete in the program about the college cross country experience at Bucknell.
I did not hear what the previous athletes said, but I would, I feel like, we definitely have that mentality, work hard, play later. And there was definitely, room for that play. But I would say for me, it was just the everyday, just the small things that added up, don't forget the small things. Our friends every day. I mean, it was just a lot. This was our family. And so I felt like, in today's digital age, it's really easy to, to forget to check in with everybody. When we were at Bucknell, we didn't have, we didn't have all that technology. So I just think, our team was our family. And so, definitely, stay in touch with everybody and make a point to check in with your teammates, and it'll go by quick.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Is that everybody? All right. All you guys ran for legendary Hall of Fame coach Art Goulden. And I still hear Art Goulden stories all the time. And what a tremendous coach he was. I tell people if I'm the second best coach in the last 50 years, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. So, but anyway, tell us, how Coach Goulden impacted your life, as well as a pretty good story about him. We'll start with Julie.
Oh gosh. So I still, every time I walk outside with my hair wet, I look over my shoulder expecting him to start yelling. He had many, many rules. That's one thing I remember dearly about Coach. He was amazing. He was definitely an amazing coach. He had the ability to take decent runners and make them great. And Nora, I love your story that Coach Donner just told, because I think that's the story of so many people that have come to Bucknell. They've come and now have been doing great things. He changed my life in many ways. And gosh, I'll never forget. And just to give you a feel of what Coach Goulden was like, I showed up at my recruiting visit and I had these delusions of grandeur that I didn't realize, but I was convinced I was playing field hockey in the fall and then doing indoor and outdoor track. And you can imagine Coach Goulden's face as I said that. And he basically laughed at me and then got all serious and told me that I either run or I don't. This stone face. And I was sitting there just terrified. And he was serious. He was not joking. You either run or you don't. And so obviously I ran. He basically told me flat out, he's like, you'll be a better runner than you ever will be a field hockey player. And I'll tell you now. And he always gave it to you straight up. And he always seemed to be right, which really annoyed the living daylights out of me. But he really was always right. And there's so many stories about him that kind of make you laugh. And nowadays you guys would probably be appalled, but he had the ability to really say things straight up and then just tell you what to do. And if you listened to him and you did it right, it all happened. It all fell into place. And I know that I never would have gotten as far with running as I did without him. So I feel blessed to have known him in my life.
All right, thanks. Kristen, you were looking forward to this question.
Yeah, I almost tear up a little bit as I go to talk about Coach Donner, or Coach Donner, you too.
Oh, thank you.
but Coach Goulden, I would agree 100% with what Julie said. Yeah, there's definitely things that stories I'm not going to tell, although he used to call me, you slimy dog, all the time, which that's really not appropriate, but it's okay, apparently, back then. Again, I agree with Julie when she said that he would take average to a little bit above average runners and turn them into Patriot League champions. And that's what he did for me, because I was nothing special coming out of high school. And he just made you want to work hard for him. I loved going to practice. I loved being challenged by the workouts that he gave us. It was a phenomenal 4 years running for him. What he used to do when I was there is, as you stopped being able to hit the times, he'd pull you from the workouts. And my goal was always to never be pulled from workouts. My favorite short little story about him was, we used to run horseshoe halves. I don't know if you still do horseshoe halves on whatever hole on the golf course that was, which, by the way, at the time I was not a golfer, and I did not see the problem with running up the fairway around a green or even across it and coming down. And now as a golfer, I'm appalled that we would do such. But anyway, so one day it was a workout. I think it was freshman year, and we had not run well as a team on that Saturday. So this was a Tuesday, and we knew it was coming. It was going to be tough. And our work, our rest in between was push-ups, and the men's rest in between was bear crawls. And all of a sudden this woman shows up and she starts yelling at him that she's on the board and we're not allowed to be there and we need to leave. And he's just standing there staring straight ahead, as he always would do, not really looking at this woman. And we're standing there waiting to see what happens. And he just goes, 250, ready, go. And we just take up, running up the fairway, and we are laughing the whole time going, oh my God, I really want to know what happened there. And we don't know what happened there, but when we got back, she was gone. And it was, it made the workout, which was miserable. It definitely made it a lot better. And the last quick thing I would say is that Coach found everything out. Especially if you worked camp, he found out everything. And people told him things. Why you would tell him things, I don't know. But he just found out everything that happened. And he didn't even ask. He would just sit there and people would come to him. I miss him every day. He was a gigantic influence in my life. And I'm very, very proud to say that I ran for Coach Goulden.
Awesome. Jessica, Coach Goulden, impact on your life and any stories?
Impact came in different ways. And I'd say a little bit of like a Nora story was that I'm not sure that Coach had 100% confidence in somebody coming in as a freshman. And I don't know if it was to motivate me or, as Julie said, like a compliment and an insult all at the same time. I don't know, motivate and insult all at the same time. But he said to me before the first race, or, leading up to the first race, I don't really need your legs till junior year. And I was like, oh, okay, well, and I scored on the very first race as a freshman and I proved him wrong. And maybe that was his tactic to motivate me. I don't know. But he definitely demanded dedication and he prepared us and, made us into the best runners that we could be. So definitely, he knew what he was doing to prepare us.
All right. Annie?
Great. Well, I would say, Coach Goulden definitely impacted my life. I was so shy, meek in high school, and, he was so charismatic and he had such high expectations, when you first met Coach Goulden. He seemed very imposing. But he cared so deeply for all of us and he loved his craft and that translated into so much for us. But he definitely made me, helped mold to be the person I am today. I don't really have too many, specific memories. I was lucky. My twin sister, Connie, came to Bucknell. We both were there. And so that was always fun, to hear Coach booming, through the track, Hamlin, or you never knew what Hamlin he was talking about. But yeah, I remember a couple practices, Connie and I, he kicked both of us out of practice one day. So we were a little sisterly love there, but no, I just missed, all those little traditions, critical night, all of those things that he that were important to him that he made, important to us as well. So thanks.
All right. And Carly.
So like everyone else has said, Coach Goulden, I feel like he's probably one of the most influential people ever that I've met in my life. And just not running, but I feel like there were so many things with running that he taught us about, or maybe, had rules for, but it applied to other things as well. And one thing that really stood out to me when I was here, the work ethic he wanted out of us. But he always said, you're here at Bucknell for two main reasons. The first is for academics. The second is for running. And that sort of goes along with what Kristen was saying, how she talks with her athletes. Those are the two things. And everything else is it's minor. And you focus on two things, but the main thing first and foremost are your grades and your schoolwork. And, we all buckled down. We buckled down in the classroom. We buckled down on the course, on the track. And, he was tough love, but I mean, he got the result and we worked hard and, he got the most out of all of us. And on that note of him being a bit, of a tough love type of coach, it's a two-part memory, but when I came in my freshman year, I think like the first day of practice, the woman who was on my recruiting trip with me, who also came in as a freshman, very bubbly, outgoing gal. We come to the first day of practice. She runs up to Coach Golden. She's like, Coach Golden, and like throws out her arms to give him a hug. And he's all, I don't hug. Very gruff, like shuts her down. And she's like, oh, okay. So like that set the tone. We're like, all right, this guy does not hug. He does not show affection. Noted. And that's how Coach was. And then I guess it was not that long after I graduated that he got sick again. And that first year out of Bucknell, I was actually out in Kansas at grad school. And I came back, I guess it would have been over Christmas break. I was here long enough that I got to come down to Lewisburg. My hometown is northeastern PA. So I was able to come down and watch, I think, one of the indoor meets in January. And by then coach was pretty sick, but he was still coaching. And I walked into the field house, and I'm pretty sure my former teammate Jen Hart was with me too. She had come back to watch the meet, and he saw us and his eyes lit up and he's like, Graytock Hart. He's like, come here, give me a hug. And it was just, because you knew what he was going through, and clearly like he softened a bit around the edges, and it was just like, oh, Coach, like, to that difference from my first day, one of my first days on campus to then. And grateful that I had that moment too, because it was only a few months later that he passed away, and it's still like, not to get choked up. I mean, like, it's just something that I still hold on to. So,
yeah.
Sorry.
Nice. It's nice. All right. Jessica, most memorable experience as a member of the cross country program?
I don't know the most memorable. I will just say a memory that I do have is, and Kristen might be the only one that remembers this, but our watermelon run, because I think it ended right after my freshman year. Maybe I'm wrong. Did the rest of you do it? Okay. So, the watermelon run, you run to Coach's house. I forget how many miles it was. And it was kind of like a rite of passage for freshmen. We each had to carry the watermelon a certain distance. And, then you kind of got to celebrate when you're there. But it's just kind of a funny thing, a memory from freshman year and just the rite of passage for the freshmen.
Funny story, Jessica. The watermelon run tradition continued my first couple years. The guys and girls on the team told me about it. So we did it, and it was deemed hazing.
Yeah.
I had to get rid of it. I had to end the watermelon run. So
Right. Yeah, that's funny.
Yep. Julie, most memorable experience?
Oh, this is a really hard one for me. And honestly, I don't know that I can put that one down to one experience. In my head, I think back and think that you would remember all these great wins and all your times and all of that, but I don't remember that. Mostly what I remember are the things that happen on the sidelines. I remember, like you said, the traditions that we had: summer camp, long bus rides, game nights. Wally still can't play games, I'm sure. The random things that they came up with, like Gender Equity Day, which again would never pass in today's time. And I don't know whose idea that was, but that was like the worst idea ever. It's a bad day for the women. But I remember all of the little things like that. I remember standing on the line at a race, covering our bodies in olive oil because we were freezing, and we were told that then we didn't have to add layers. And I still think back and wonder, did we really do this? It's all those memories that come flying back. And Annie, I can remember when we got stuck at my parents' house in the snowstorm, and we decided we had to get back. Coach needed us on campus, so we were trying to shovel 2 feet of snow in our quarter of a mile long driveway. And we thought for sure we were going to get out. It's really it's just the friendships and those moments, all those special moments. And I would say to the athletes, just cherish every one of those little moments and laugh and love, because it really is amazing.
We do the oil still. We do we throw oil on those cold days. All right. Annie, most memorable experience?
I'd have to echo, what Julie said, just all those little moments, just the laughter. I loved our team dinners. I loved it all. So many of us, we roomed together. It was just, I just loved it. I loved going on those early morning runs. Lewisburg is such a quaint, pretty town. It was so nice with the stress of the day just to kind of get out and be with our teammates. But time flies and it just goes by so fast. But I cherish all those moments, and it does. It's Jules and I were laughing earlier this week, like, oh my gosh, we can't remember that far back. We're so old. Like, I remember, us being Patriot League cross country champs for the first time, and beating Army. That was exciting. That was a big deal to us. And so yeah, I remember traveling to see you run at nationals. I remember we all went out to see you, and that was a big deal. So that was but there were a lot of highs, those years.
Great. And Kristen?
It's funny, a couple of my memories do deal with hazing. Loose balling stopped at some point after I was gone, where I know that I was just about done with a run and I got tossed into a mud puddle, and it was pretty dirty. Went to pre-nationals and not everybody went my freshman year, and I came back and there was 6 inches of popcorn in my room throughout my room. Then I got those people back because they had an apartment on 6th Street and they were on the top floor. So for them to get out, it was an outdoor staircase. So in the middle of the night, I went out with string and I just tied their entire staircase so that basically they were late to their first class because they couldn't get out. It was, those kinds of experiences that were just so much fun because it was definitely like family. Becky Tobin and I, if anytime we had meets, whether it was track or cross country, and they were home, when we were supposed to the day before the race to go out and run a few miles, we would run to the playground, play on the swings and talk for a while because we didn't get to talk. I mean, I guess we should have been able to talk a lot, but that was just a time to hang out. And then we ran back and, we ran 3 miles that day. So. But definitely those, the time spent with the team, the dinners, we all ate together. Winning Patriot League championships, and those were great. And they were awesome. But, throwing somebody in the steeplechase water pit was also pretty awesome too.
All right. And Carly?
I would say one of the most memorable moments was when we made it to nationals as a team. And it wasn't just for a number of reasons, but I mean, it happened my senior year. And I think that made it extra special because it was sort of like this culmination, not just of my time at Bucknell, but like the history of the program. Because coming in, you would hear about all of these men's teams that were so good, that had made it to nationals. And, you wonder like, oh, could we maybe do that? And, then sophomore year, Julie made it as an individual to nationals, and you're like one step closer, and as a team, I think we finished 4th at regionals that year and we beat Princeton. We beat some good teams. Like we were getting like a taste of like, okay, like we could accomplish some big things. And then, junior year, we did not run. I think we were hoping, as a team for more and didn't quite finish or like race to what we thought we could. I remember leaving that meet let down, but the men ran incredible and they were like 3rd at regionals and missed going to nationals by 1. And so you just had all this momentum building over those like 3 years leading up to my senior year, that by the time senior year rolled around, I felt like a lot of us on the team were like, all right, like let's just dream big. Why not? And I remember, I think it was a run or maybe just, I lived with Jen Hart, but we were captains together, and it was either like hanging out at our house or on a run very early in that season, and maybe right when practice was starting, but like let's beat Penn State. Like let's just make that a goal. They've kicked our butts, like let's beat Penn State. And hey, like West Virginia's coming here for a dual meet. Let's try and beat them. And like going from when I came in to Bucknell being like, oh, I wonder if we could, if the women's team could do something like that, to by senior year being like, why not? Like, why not us? Like, we were a scrappy bunch, but like we had lots of great examples before us, men and women. But I mean, like, especially the women that came before me that set a really great example of like, you set big goals. You don't, like Julie said, like you don't have a doubt. You put in the work, you follow what the coach says, you work with your teammates, and you step on the line. And it's like, why can't we accomplish something big like that? And so it was really great to have that happen senior year, because it just left my time at Bucknell, like on the cross country team, on such a high note. And it was a great group of women. I mean, like, we were a pack. It wasn't just like one person here, one person there. It was like we were a really tight pack, and we accomplished it together. And it was just a really great note to end my 4 years of cross country at Bucknell.
Right, great. While you're there, who was a teammate that you most admired and why?
Me? Oh, you're asking me?
Carly.
Oh.
Yep, Carly.
I have to pick just one. It has to be just one.
No, you can pick more than.
Can I maybe be like 3? Well, so Julie and Annie were like, they're a year ahead of me, and so when I came in, like I felt like they set this great tone for our team that just sort of stuck with everyone in the 4 years I was here. So I always like, they were high. Like, I had high opinions of those two, and like as I mentioned before, my best pal on the team was Jen Hart. Also just hard worker, and I feel like Jen and Julie were just on and off the field, like in the classroom. I just remember marveling. They're engineers and like getting 4.0s and like just doing awesome in their classes. And it's like, how are you doing that on top of also running really well? And I mean, again, that's a good example for everyone on the team, because it's like, sure, you can run well, but you can also be brilliant and do really well in the classroom. So, but I mean, like Julie and Annie, just, I feel like they were sort of like, I came in, those two set the tone for me and for the team. And that's, I mean, it's because of them that, while I was here, we were able as a team to accomplish what we did.
Awesome.
And Coach Wilhelm.
Awesome. Yeah. Kristen, who is the teammate you most admired?
I'm not trying to sidebar off of cross country, but honestly, the two athletes that I was around for 3 years that were a huge influence on me were both track athletes. They were Ella Episcopo and Jerry Kernison. They were both a year ahead of me, and they were walk-ons. And again, to sidebar, with Coach Hodge, if you were a walk-on, you had to earn it. I mean, you had to earn his respect. And I watched those two women work so hard for 3 years and go from walk-ons that Coach Hodge basically made somewhat of an afterthought when they were there, to being athletes that placed in the Patriot League meet. They were just phenomenal human beings. They nurtured the young people that were on the team, and they were just awesome. So sorry, they're not cross country people, but those.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Jessica, who did you admire the most?
I'm not shirking the question, but I will truly say I think I admired everybody on the team, because to be a part of the team, you have to be so dedicated. And whether they were first or last or fast or slow or whatever it was, everybody came with something different and held a different part of the team. And, as Carly was saying, you can't accomplish something without the whole team. It is an individual sport, but there's a team behind it. And everybody holds a different role. Somebody's a cheerleader, somebody's a motivator, somebody's a supporter, somebody's running better than you, worse than you, whatever it is on any given day. And so I truly admire anybody that was on the team, stuck with it, went through those 4 years and put in the time and the effort and showed up every day.
Very good. Annie?
Likewise, Jessica, I could really name anybody, but gosh, Julie, I admired you so much. I grew quite close to Julie. We were teammates early on and all through. And you carried a tough course load, and she did it so gracefully. She did. I saw the grit, her determination every single day. And I just admired that tremendously. And I loved being co-captains with you our senior year. And, we had some great moments. And no, I definitely, it was a lot of fun, Julie. And I've never forgotten it. So, no.
All right. And Julie?
Well, thank you. I'm going to agree with Jessica. To me, I admired everyone on the team. It didn't matter if you were first or last. You showed up to practice, you put the work in, you did what it took to be there. And if you were there and coach let you stay there, you were doing the work. And, there's just so many. I mean, I admire Connie, Annie's sister, Connie Hamlin, her determination. She had asthma and here she is, out doing all of this and doing fantastic. And Annie's ability to just constantly, no matter what, it felt like the world was ending and Annie was making us all laugh and smile. And then Carrie was injured. She had lots of injuries and just, was constantly pushing through. And she just had the ability to give it back to coach no matter what he said. And nobody else could really do that. And I always admired that about her. I'm still not quite sure how that worked out because they had a fantastic relationship, but man, she would dish it back. I really did. I just admired our team as a whole because we were a unit. We were a group and we lived together. We worked together. We ate together. We pretty much did everything together and we just made each other better. And even to this day, I know if I need something and I may not have talked to someone in, a couple of years, I can pick up the phone and it's going to be like yesterday. And we will connect. And that's why, for my husband and I, it's so important we have this annual reunion every year for all of our running friends, because it's a chance for us all to get together and get to know each other. And now all of our kids are getting to know each other and they are all like on this Bucknell bandwagon now. Like they think it's the best thing in the world and they look forward to this party every year. And unfortunately this year we had to cancel. So it was very disappointing. It was the first time in many, many years, but everyone on that team deserves admiration for what they accomplished because, and Nora, it's not an easy job. And we all know that. We all know that the academic demands and the athletic demands combined along with everything else is very difficult, but you're doing it and it's awesome and you will never regret it.
All right. And athlete you admire the most?
Oh, sorry, my sound cut out. But I think I'd have to say sort of a similar answer. All of my teammates that have been really dedicated to training just amidst Corona and having to stay home and do a lot of the work by ourselves without having the support of your teammates. I think that is something that I really admired just throughout my whole team. Everybody's been taking their training kind of to the next level and been doing a really good job about that. So as of right now, my entire team is really some people that I'm gaining a lot of support and respect for. And then specifically a person who had a really big impact, I think, on me, a senior when I was a freshman, Margaret Thompson, was just a really great influence for somebody who is just like a constant on the team. She always was there in the races. She'd always be just someone you could always rely on. You always knew Margaret was going to pull through. And she was that source of stability, even just in practices, or if I had issues with schoolwork or really anything. She was always just really there to listen and made me feel very welcome and accepted, even as a freshman.
All right. Why don't you ask these young ladies a question there?
Sure. So I would love to know if you have any networking advice about finding the right job after Bucknell. And we could start with Kristen.
So I can only speak to teaching because that's what I've done my whole life. And there's a couple of pieces of advice that I would give. And the first one is if you're going into teaching, you need to get every certificate that you possibly can get. Back in 1993, you could get a job with your social studies certificate or your history, or your biology certificate. It doesn't work that way anymore. Kids don't even get interviews in most districts unless you have multiple certificates. And that is something that we have. One of our school board members works at Duquesne University, and I've told her that. I'm like, you've got to tell the students they need to be able to teach multiple disciplines. And the other piece of advice would be just, there is no shame in using every avenue that you can to get a job, in the sense that anybody that you know that you think you can help them, reach out to them, because that's where we are right now. Is a lot of the times it's who you know. So reach out to anybody that you possibly think, in a professional way that can help you. And by the way, I'm more than happy, if anyone is interested in teaching, to help with anything. I'm out in Western Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Jessica?
Yeah, so I would say use your networks, as Kristen said, use any network you have. And quite frankly, just use your alumni, whether it's cross country and track alumni or just Bucknell alumni in general. I actually do recruiting for a corporate company. I have Bucknell students reach out to me all the time, just from LinkedIn or an alumni network, just saying, I want to get into consulting, will you chat with me? And I just feel like every Bucknell alum is happy to have a conversation with you, give you advice, connect you with people that they can. So utilize your alumni network for sure. We're all out there willing to help. We know what it's like. We've been there. It's not easy. So take advantage of it to get an internship or a job or any experience.
Annie?
Just again, from a teaching background, similar, I would just say, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, definitely use all your connections, and follow through, don't be afraid to send that, that handwritten note. I know that sounds kind of old fashioned, but, stay active in your field and, keep learning. Still to this day, I'm still taking classes and still trying to learn something new in my field as well. So, do all those little things right so that you can kind of stand out.
Carly?
Sort of just to echo what Jessica said, I think like any Bucknell alum, if you're looking at jobs and you see that there's somehow a Bucknell connection in there, it doesn't hurt to reach out to that person, because I feel like in my experience in the past, it's like if someone finds out you went to Bucknell, like, oh, they're excited about it and they want to talk to you and they want to like, oh, what'd you major in? And like, I feel like you'll get asked too, like, oh, did you know so-and-so? And a lot of times it's like, the name doesn't sound familiar, but chances are if I saw them on the quad, yes, because like it's such a small campus that you would recognize someone by face, if not by name. And so, yeah, like I think any chance you can. And I mean, personally, what I do now, it's not like there's not a whole lot of networking for the type of job I do, but I know Terry, he works in biotech or bioinformatics for a genomics research institute. And I know through LinkedIn, like also we'll get Bucknell alums that reach out that just, they want to chat. They have an interest in the field. And, I feel like you're always open to talk to a fellow Bucknellian. And kind of along those lines, like if running helps you out, I had an interview. This was when I was still working in the lab in biotech, but I had an interview at a job in Boston years ago and had to meet with, I think, like 3 different PhD level scientists. And it's all like pretty serious science talk. And it's one-on-one. And I get into like the 3rd meeting and the guy's like, so you ran at Bucknell? He's like, I ran at Pitt and I ran at a time he ran, I guess, late 80s, early 90s. So he was very familiar with the Bucknell men's program, and he just wanted to talk about Bucknell running. But like in the end, I got the job and like came to find out later on that this former runner from Pitt like vouched for me. He's like, you got to hire the runner. Runners are good workers. They have good work ethic. They'll get the job done. So, I mean, like if running can help you out, you know, use it like, cause it's definitely helped me in the past too.
Yeah, definitely. Julie?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone has said so far. I guess the other advice I could give you is that your first job doesn't need to be your forever job. You know, when we were graduating, it was more common, I think, when you went into a field, like you went into your job and you stayed there forever and ever, but times have changed. I would encourage people to find a job that they can be happy in and that will develop your skills and help you to continue to, advance those skills, but then also continue to pursue opportunities. Don't settle. Don't stay comfortable with where you are. Continuously advance, take other classes or look into other opportunities and just always keep moving.
All right. One more question here. I've been here 20 years now. We've had some success. We've had a couple failures. But what advice would you give me as the current head coach of the Bucknell program? We'll start with Julie, who I think hired me.
I don't know that I hired you, I helped, but no.
She was on the search committee. She was on the search committee.
Yeah. Coach Donner, I think you've done a fantastic job. I think you've done a great job just recruiting and advocating for these teams, especially right now with the way things are and seeing so many college programs shut down. It's definitely a hard time with college sports, but I think you really stepped into this program and you've done a great job embracing Coach Goulden's legacy. And that was not an easy thing to do, I'm sure. But you really embraced it and you've really taken this program and built it into something way better even than what it was. And it's very commendable with what you've done so far. I guess, thinking about it, I'd advise to definitely keep the alumni engaged. The Zoom calls, that kind of stuff, it's special and it really keeps everybody involved. And it's just fun to see the athletes and hear the stories and what's going on now. And I'd also just, suggest continuing to recruit the athletes that maybe in high school aren't the fastest. Find the ones who are in programs where they're not pushed to their limits already. Find the athletes that have more potential that's not been harnessed yet, and get those kids to Bucknell and then show them what they can do, because that I think has been a backbone of the program for many, many years. And I think that can lead the program to success in the future too.
All right, thanks. And this is a tough time when collegiate athletics with COVID, but overspending with football, basketball at some of these places. It's a tough time. You're seeing programs shutting down, and I can assure you that we're doing everything we can do to make our program indispensable. That is my job right now, is to make our program indispensable. We're trying to be very visible, raising money, and we have a very, very powerful network of alumni, and that's going to help us quite a bit. And so we're going to work on that really hard. That's for sure. All right, Kristen, advice.
I think Julie took it all. I would definitely commend you on continuing Coach Goulden's legacy, because, and I just feel like I'm saying what Julie said already, but those were pretty gigantic shoes to jump into. And I think you did a great job. I just embracing the traditions that Bucknell has, and putting your own spin on them, but also keeping the history intact. Just keep doing what you're doing. Athletics and college athletics, I know are tough right now, but I know that the staff, that you guys are doing a fantastic job in making track and field and cross country be the best or one of the best sports on campus. So just keep doing what you're doing, Coach.
Yeah, we're going to make it hard for them to shut it down. That's for sure. Carly?
What what Julie and Kristen said, I think that, well, so having two younger brothers that actually split their time between you and Coach Golden, I could see that right off the bat, you did what you did your best right off the bat to kind of keep some continuity in, the traditions of the program and the environment. So I think that's great. And I could still see that, to some extent now, and especially in the last few years being here and kind of firsthand witnessing that. So I think just keeping that sort of environment alive, the familial environment, because I think that's such a big thing about the Bucknell team is like the family unit, and everyone is a member of it and everyone has their part in it. And like Kristen said, keeping the history of the program alive, because there's been a lot of like amazing and special moments across the decades that have happened. And I think like the further removed you get from some of those older ones, like it could be harder, like these kids that are graduating in the 2020s might not know as much about the programs from, the 80s or the 90s. But I think just, keeping it fresh within the program, because it meant a lot when I was here to know the history of the team. And it was a big deal. Like you heard stories all the time. And I think that just added again to like I said, the familial environment of the team. It just keeps everyone connected through the decades, no matter like if you overlapped with someone or not on the team. Like you feel some sort of tie to the program when you have that sort of environment.
All right, great. And Annie, any advice?
I need a sign that says ditto or anyway, no advice really. I think you're doing a great job, Coach Donner. I'm sure it must have been hard, to find your own way as a coach, but I think you did a fantastic job, molding the ways of the past with the present. So just keep doing what you're doing. And no, I agree, what Carly said as well. Yeah, it's connection is so important. And, to be able to hear the stories of yesteryear and how they're similar, that's so important. So yeah, definitely don't forget, the small stuff and keep making those connections with everybody.
Yeah, well, just an FYI, I am a history buff. And so I really appreciated the history of the program even before I got here. And I wanted to embrace it and be a part of it. And that was special to me. And also I felt the alumni did embrace me right from the get-go. And that was really special and made me feel right at home, right from day one. All right, Jessica.
I don't know how much more I can add. I'd say just an important thing as a coach, I think just always get to know every athlete as an individual. And I'm sure you do that. Nora can probably attest to it. But so important to understand what motivates each person. They're all slightly different. What else is going on in their life separate from being an athlete. And I think that's just really important for the entire team and your relationship with the athletes as well. But you're doing a great job. So.
All right. Nora, you can give me your advice in the office tomorrow. So, all right. Well, thank you for everything, ladies. It was a good night.
Thank you.
All right. So,
Thank you.
so thanks, Coach. And Nora, let me turn my attention to you first. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us tonight. We wish you the best of luck with your training the rest of this semester. And we are keeping our fingers crossed that come winter time and spring, you are actually competing. And I know if you will be, that the Spike Shoe Nation will be out there cheering you on. The alumni support that the track and field and cross country program gets is top notch. And I know that they'll be cheering for you. So good luck. And ladies, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you for what you did as members of the program, but even more importantly, what you've done since then. The Spike Shoe family is truly that. And the support that everyone gives to each other in that family is phenomenal. And I thank you for that. And for those of you at home that tuned in to watch tonight, thank you for doing so. And go Bison.